If you ever asked yourself what you want to do with your time, I think this video is for you. And the reason why I think this video is for you is because for the past couple of days I've been speaking with you about my training plan, what I've been doing. But today's video will be a little bit more an honest and down-to-earth discussion, just to let you know what led me to where I am today. And what I want to answer to you with this video is, can you sometimes achieve your goals or not in running? Sometimes you put some goals in front of you, but you can only control what you can really control. Sometimes you cannot control everything. And this video is about that. I started with the plan changed completely, and then it ended up changing even more completely. So this is the arc of today's conversation with you. I am just a runner in my mid-40s trying to do the best I can to improve my running today. A few years back, there was a video from Jim Carrey where he was saying yes to everything. And the fact that he said yes to everything changed completely his life. And I've been thinking about this video lately because one thing that happened around 6 to 7 years ago was me stop saying no to do something that I believed from the beginning would be better for my life. An example given was because I was having a very sedentary life. I was working a lot but not moving a lot. And when you do that, naturally, you start to gain some weight or lose part of your interests because your focus, it is mostly on work, which is not bad. I think most of us need somehow to focus on what brings money to the table. But the good news is that around 7 years ago, things changed. I started to include in my day-to-day life, part of that started to be also exercise or do some kind of movement that allow me to get better. And if we see in a timeline, the reality is that initially my plan was, this was in 2019, the whole initial idea to simply do an Ironman. And for me to start doing an Ironman, my initial thought process was to say, let's start slowly and progressively. That's in fact what I tried to do. So I started with like a sprint triathlon, and then from the sprint triathlon, I would know that I would go and move on to the next steps and next steps. And the main idea, my main goal was to race a big, full Ironman. For the ones who don't know, a full Ironman encompasses swim, cycle, and the last one is to run. I knew that I was good at two of those disciplines, swimming and cycling. Running was never my forte because I've never loved the idea of running. As I said to you, I initially started the process of preparing myself for the first sprint triathlon, which happened in London in 2019. But as we all know, 2019 was a year that didn't happen, right? Because we had the COVID hit, and when COVID hit, most of the things that were planned to be happening in 2019 or 2020 were postponed to 2021. I was in fact living out of UK, and I thought doing the London triathlon. What happened next was I spent 1 year preparing myself for that. But what I meant to say with this is when I was doing the preparation for that triathlon was when things shifted. Because when I started to run, initially I hated it. It was tough. My legs didn't like it. My body was not wanting to do it. But out of a sudden, I started enjoying going out and run. Mainly because I think I prepared throughout the entire year, but I started around spring. The days started to get longer, the weather started to get better, the days were very good at the end of the day, so I could go out and enjoy a little bit running across Thames River or going around the area and explore a little bit. With all of this said, this is exactly what happened. I started to like running. And in the process of starting to like running, obviously, when you are young in a certain discipline, your achievements are always very fast. Because let's say you have never run more than 5 minutes in your past 10 years. When you start running, every time you run, you hit a new personal best because you are just piling on top of your actual running. This was where the start of loving running started for me. It was exactly in this particular moment in my life that I started to like running. This started to put myself into a perspective of maybe an Ironman is in fact not something I want to do. But even though if I want to do an Ironman, there is one thing I have to think about, which is I had to step back a little bit and say, first I need to improve my capacity to run 42 kilometers. I cannot do an Ironman without being at least capable of doing it. Never in my life I thought to do a marathon, never. And I thought, if I have to swim 4,000 meters, then I have to cycle 180, and then I have to run 42 kilometers. I need to be prepared for these three disciplines. But the one that I really lack my expertise and skill is in running. How would I achieve running 42 kilometers after doing almost, 180 kilometers plus 4 kilometers of swimming? It would be very tough, especially for legs that are not used to run. So my plan was to just go out and start trying to run to the point where I'm running the distance, 42 kilometers, at least once, to have the experience of what it is. This was a trigger. So I started to like running. Then after starting to like running, I started to enjoy going out for running. And I knew that if I wanted to run at the end of an Ironman, a full Ironman, I had to run at least 42 kilometers. So I had to be prepared physically and mentally for that approach. That's what changed. I started to love so much running that I started to put in perspective, as I was telling you before, should I go out for running or should I really do an Ironman? And slowly, doing an Ironman started to fade away. So this is why the video today is called What to Do with Your Time. Because, sometimes what you do is you just find out as you go. I started a midlife crisis in terms of hobbies because I didn't know really what to do. I just knew that I didn't want it to keep growing. My sedentarism that was growing fast, I wanted to change that. And for me to change that, because if I was about to have a son or a baby or be a father in my life, I wanted to be a role model and not as much just a person who sticks at home and works all day long. Working is very important for all of us, but it's not what defines you, especially for a kid. What defines you is what you do overall. It's your overall perspective, what you do as a whole, as a person. And in my perspective, I wanted to do good in several things. One of them being health, nutritional, being a good father, and also being a good professional. So I started to add to my life the exercise element that I was not doing anymore for the past couple of years, to say couple of years, for the past decade, I would say. And because the Ironman idea started to fade away, I started to focus on running. Now, when you start to focus on running, things start to shift a little bit. Because, as I was telling you, when you are young on a certain discipline or on a certain exercise that you do for a hobby, you are very good at it almost every day until you start to reach a threshold where for you to move the needle a little bit more, it's not only necessary to just go out and run, or just to go out and cycle, or just go out and swim. You have to go out and run, you have to go out and swim, but you start to have to put a little bit more of pressure on you, so you're not doing it anymore as a full, it's a hobby, don't take me wrong, but it's not anymore what it was before, if you want to progress. I looked at this into one perspective. I was not yet 40. I think I was more or less around 38, 39. I was turning 40, in fact, when all of this started. And the thing that changed was, okay, so now let's focus on running. Running is the objective, running is the goal. Let's go all out. And when I did so, initially a lot of PBs on all disciplines. I have never planned to run a marathon without at least doing several 5Ks, several 10Ks, several half marathons, and then go for a marathon. Maybe there's people that you will see online that just put themselves under the pressure of, okay, I have never done anything and I just went out for a marathon. It's not the case with me, because I'm very conscious about one thing, for you to be on something for the long run, you need to be very conscious. And if your body is not anymore a young body, you have to bear in your mind the idea that if you want to be on something for the long run, it's better that you prepare yourself to get there. So that's what I did. And I had a very big plan. I don't know if you know one of the YouTubers I follow the most because I just love his storytelling. He's a guy called Bo Miles. I think he's a New Zealand guy, and he does a lot of running content on his channel. Not only, but running content on his channel. I think he's a lover of running as well. And his content is incredible. Please take some time to go and watch a little bit Bo Miles if you have never seen it before. There was a video he did, which was, I ran 42 kilometers, the full marathon distance. So he completed his marathon on the day he did 42. And I thought, I will do the same. So that's when the preparation for the run started. And that's what brought me here speaking with you today. That's the incredible part of these things, right? We are more or less on my 39th, and that would be a very specific race, similar to what Bo Miles did. My plan was not to run a race like Chicago Marathon or New York, one of the biggest, or wherever. My plan was to go to my home country, and in my home country, touch all the places where I lived throughout these entire 42 years old, and obviously being a little bit emotional and finishing at my 42 year and so on. So I think the date that was supposed to happen was around the 28th of December 2022. As you can see, the weather will be tough, but I decided anyway, let's try to do it. So I started to go along with the plan. The plan was just to accomplish the 42 kilometers, whatever that. I knew that it would be a very challenging run, because in the end it's just a run, it was not a race. My home country, it is not a flat country, so I had to definitely go up and down, and my body was not prepared for that. And that's when the preparation for the marathon or for the run started. That's when the trigger started to happen. And so before anything, we started with 2 5Ks, which went okay, 2 10Ks, which went okay. And then when I was preparing for my first half marathon, this is where problems started to happen. Challenges started to appear and roadblocks started to come. The first big roadblock I faced was pain on my right knee. So until that moment, I have never felt that pain. And I thought immediately, so I was loving so much running that I thought, why this is happening right now? I've never had any issue. And I was not overloading, I was not overtraining, because I am always very conscious about capability of my body. And in some cases, I am so conscious that I think I do less than I can really do. I was comfortable with what I was planning to do, but then I faced a big challenge. The right knee started to give me some problems. At a certain point in time, I will have issues. And there are various reasons, which I'm not going to in detail today, but there are various reasons with my body that didn't allow me to go where I wanted to go. I have some issues on my body, some deviations, some imperfections that obviously would come to a point where the stress load put on your body for doing the same exercise or activity over and over will reach a point where you will have to face some struggles and you have to do a step back. That was the moment. Just for you to understand how big the deal was for me to have to stop running, or at least think about stop running, because I wanted to get better fast. As I told you, my idea was to stay on this for the long run, so it was not to stay only for a period of time. So I knew that I had to stop if I wanted to progress. This was the moment I started to have a coach. That was the moment where I started to have some medical examinations, MRIs, X-rays, scans to see if everything was fine. Nothing was found, but the problem was there. Even though it might sound strange, I had pain on my knee. So I had to step back a little bit from running, put myself on a bike. I did around for at least 6 months or 7 months of the year. So I started at the beginning of the year with this plan, cross training, and then at 7 months after, I started to again introduce running on my day-to-day workouts. And everything started to get back again. I changed my approach. And this is also good to give you some idea, because it's with these challenges that you start to learn about your body. And these learning processes also let you know what your body is really capable of. That's the storyline for what came next. What came next was I really able to run my first marathon on my 42nd. And the answer is, yeah, unfortunately it was not possible. Unfortunately it was not possible. Not because I didn't want it to do it, simply because my body was not the body of a runner. It is not the body of a runner. It is the body of someone who really enjoys going out for a run, but that didn't born running, just started running in 2020 or 2019. That's the difference between me and a runner. The body, their aerobic system, cardiovascular, respiratory, everything is optimized for that sport. In my case, it's not the case. There's always a reason behind something that happens to you in your life, right? In my case, it was my body saying, maybe you have to slow down. You can do it, but maybe not now. If you are really into running, just go out and run. You'll see that you will love. You'll see that it's uncomfortable at the beginning, but it will be great at the end. So enjoy your runs. I'll speak with you on the next one.